In 2023, historic floods ravaged South Africa's Munabi National Park, transforming its dusty roads into treacherous, muddy rivers. The once arid landscape was unrecognizable, swallowed by water that churned with debris and soil. The reserve's rangers, a tight-knit crew hardened by years of working in the wild, received urgent orders from the park's headquarters: patrol the flooded zones, assess the widespread damage, and rescue any wildlife caught in the deluge's merciless grip. They gathered before dawn, their faces set with determination as they loaded their amphibious vehicles with supplies, first aid kits, blankets, ropes, and anything else they might need. The engines roared to life, and their wheels rolled slowly through the deep, murky water, cutting through the stillness of the early morning. Above them, a grey sky loomed, heavy with the aftermath of relentless rains that had pounded the region for days. The air was thick with moisture, and the branches and leaves lining the submerged path sagged under the weight of the water, dripping incessantly. Erosion had carved jagged scars into the earth, leaving some sections of the ground crumbling and unstable. Peter, the team leader, gripped his walkie-talkie, his voice steady but urgent as he relayed updates to the center. Roads are gone. Water's everywhere. We're moving in deeper now. Everyone understood the stakes. After a flood this catastrophic, countless animals would be stranded, injured, or worse. Their mission was clear: leave no creature behind. The team pressed on, their vehicles lurching through the floodwaters. They stopped frequently, climbing out into the cold, waist-deep current to clear fallen branches and tangled vines that blocked their path. Each step was a battle against the sucking mud and the relentless flow, but they moved with practiced efficiency. The deeper they ventured into the forest, the more the devastation revealed itself: uprooted trees, scattered nests, and the eerie silence of a landscape stripped of its usual chorus of life. The rangers exchanged few words, their focus sharpened by the weight of their task. They scanned the surroundings constantly, searching for any sign of movement, any flicker of life amid the chaos. The waterlogged terrain stretched endlessly. Before them, a testament to nature's raw power, and the gloom of the grey sky seemed to press down on their spirits. Yet they pushed forward, driven by a shared resolve to protect the park's inhabitants. At a bend in the river where the water flowed swiftly but shallower than elsewhere, the team spotted something that made them freeze. A cheetah stood motionless, on a muddy rise, her sleek form stark against the dreary backdrop. Her head was bowed and low, guttural groans escaped her, a sound that carried both panic and anguish. The surrounding area was a mess of mud, flattened reeds, and receding water, the aftermath of the flood still evident in every soggy inch. As the vehicle crept closer, the rangers saw what held the mother cheetah's gaze. A small cub lay beside her, its tiny body limp and still. The sight pierced through the team like a blade. They killed the engine and stepped silently into the water, careful not to startle the distressed mother. Johan and Lucas, two of the most experienced rescuers, took the lead, wading forward with their hands raised in a gesture of peace. "Get the kit ready," Peter called softly over his shoulder, his eyes never leaving the cheetah. She roared, a sharp, guttural sound, and retreated a few steps, her amber eyes glistening with a mix of pain and wary hope. Peter, with decades of fieldwork behind him, studied the scene and felt a sinking certainty. The cub had likely drowned, caught in the flood's unforgiving currents. But he also knew that every second mattered. If there was even a sliver of a chance, they had to seize it. Johan knelt beside the cub, his fingers pressing gently against its sodden chest. The faintest flutter of a heartbeat pulsed beneath his touch, weak, erratic, but there. "It's alive, barely," he said, his voice tight with urgency. Lucas dropped to his knees beside him, unpacking the medical kit with swift precision. He pulled out an oxygen tube and a small artificial respirator, his hands steady despite the tension crackling in the air. Johan began chest compressions, his movements rhythmic and firm, coaxing the cub's heart to fight. Lucas fitted the respirator over the cub's muzzle, pumping oxygen into its waterlogged lungs, willing the tiny body to expel the floodwater that threatened to snuff out its life. Peter and the others formed a loose circle around them, their presence a quiet shield against the world. They murmured soft reassurances to the mother cheetah, who paced anxiously nearby, her eyes locked on her cub. The sounds of the forest, the rush of water, the rustle of wind through the reeds, and the faint thrum of the cub's struggling heartbeat wove together into a desperate symphony. The mother edged closer, her growls softening as she seemed to sense the ranger's intent. The team worked in silence, their breaths held, praying for a miracle they'd seen slip away too many times before. Minutes stretched into an eternity. each second heavy with dread and hope. Then abruptly the cub coughed, a rasping, fragile sound that shattered the tension. Water sputtered from its mouth, and its chest heaved as it drew a shaky breath. "It's back!" Johann exclaimed, his voice breaking with relief. Peter let out a triumphant shout. "Success!" his call echoing through the damp air. The mother cheetah unleashed a piercing screech, a raw blend of emotion that could have been grief, joy, or both. The cub's eyes fluttered open, its body quivering from cold and exhaustion. Johann rested a hand on its head, stroking gently as Lucas grabbed a towel soaked in warm water from the kit, wiping away the mud and river water that clung to its spotted fur. The cub blinked, disoriented, then turned its head, searching for its mother. She was there in an instant, pressing her muzzle to its shoulder, her warm growls vibrating through the air. The reunion unfolded in tender silence, the mother's careful nudges and the cub's feeble responses, knitting their bond back together. The rangers watched, their hearts swelling with an ache that was equal parts joy and awe. Against the bleak, grey expanse of the flooded park, this small victory shone like a fragile flame. A sudden gust of wind swept through, chilling the cub further and drawing a shiver from its frail frame. Peter snapped into action, signaling for more blankets and scarves from the vehicle. "We need to keep it warm," he said, his tone clipped but calm. Johann continued monitoring the cub's breathing, while Lucas and another ranger, Sarah, positioned themselves to block the wind, their bodies a makeshift barrier. The rescue vehicle sat nearby, its headlights casting a soft glow across the water's surface, illuminating the ripples that danced in the breeze. The engine's low hum unsettled the mother cheetah, her ears flicking nervously, but she held her ground, rooted by her cub's side. Sarah stepped forward, her movements slow and deliberate, draping another towel over the cub's trembling form. Its eyes grew brighter, and its tail gave a weak twitch, a spark of life that lifted the team's spirits. "You're a fighter," Sarah murmured, her voice thick with emotion. The rangers exchanged glances, their exhaustion tempered by the quiet triumph of the moment. They'd seen death claim too many in floods like this, but today their hands had tipped the scales toward life. With the cub stabilized, the team turned their attention to its injuries. Lucas inspected its hind legs, noting shallow scratches, etched into its skin, likely from debris carried by the floodwaters. He cleaned them with a mild antiseptic, his touch gentle but thorough, then wrapped them in thin bandages. The mother cheetah watched, her posture tense but trusting, her gaze flicking between her cub and the rangers. "Doing great, little one," Johann said, running a hand along the cub's back as its breathing steadied. The rain had finally ceased, leaving the air crisp and heavy with the scent of wet earth and new beginnings. Sunlight pierced the clouds, tentative at first, then stronger, painting the stream with streaks of gold. Birds stirred in the treetops, their calls rising like a hymn to the morning. The chaos of the flood seemed to fade, if only for a moment, replaced by a fragile peace. Yet the rangers knew their work was far from done. Other animals still needed them, hidden in the park's flooded corners. Sarah proposed bringing the cub to the center for observation, her voice cautious but firm. "It's weak. We could monitor it, make sure it pulls through." Peter frowned, weighing the idea. He crouched beside the cub, checking its pulse again, then glanced at the mother, who hovered protectively nearby. "If it's not critical, she's better off with her mom," he said finally. Johann nodded in agreement. "This is when it learns to survive, hunting, moving, everything. Taking it away could do more harm than good." The team huddled briefly, discussing the cub's condition. Its heart rate was steady now, its breathing less labored. Though still fragile, it showed no signs of collapse. The mother licked its face, her tongue rasping softly, urging it to rise. The cub responded, its legs wobbling as it pushed itself up, a testament to its resilience. The rangers smiled, captivated by the unspoken strength in the pair's bond. Separating them, they realized, could fracture more than just their day. It could disrupt the cub's future in the wild. The decision settled, the team stepped back, giving the mother and cub space to reclaim their freedom. The cub took a shaky step, then another, toddling toward its mother. She met it halfway, their noses brushing in a quiet, intimate greeting. The rangers watched, their chests tight with emotion, as the pair reunited fully. The morning sun climbed higher, gilding the water droplets on the cub's fur and casting long shadows across the muddy ground. The mother cheetah turned her head toward the team, her eyes meeting theirs for a fleeting moment. She dipped her head slightly, a gesture that felt like gratitude, though they'd never know for sure. The cub mimicked her, its tail flicking, as it glanced back, then followed her into the undergrowth. The rangers stood rooted, tracking the two figures as they melted into the wet, golden grass. The path ahead would be grueling. Flooded dens, scarce prey, and the lingering threat of more rain. But today they'd defied the odds. The team lingered a while longer, soaking in the stillness. The air carried the mingled scents of mud, rain, and life, a reminder of the flood's brutality and the hope that endured beyond it. Peter clapped Johan on the shoulder, a rare grin breaking through his weathered features. "Good work out there." Lucas packed up the gear, his movements slow with fatigue, while Sarah scribbled notes in her logbook, preserving the story for the park's records. The rescue vehicle rumbled to life, its wheels churning through the water as they turned back toward base. The riverbank receded behind them, taking with it the echo of the cheetah's screeches and the cub's first trembling breaths. As dawn fully broke, spilling light across the ravaged park, the rangers carried with them a warmth that defied the cold, a quiet pride in the life they'd saved, and a renewed faith in the wild they swore to protect. Back at headquarters, word of the rescue spread quickly. The team sat together over steaming mugs of coffee, recounting the morning's events with a mix of exhaustion and elation. Peter pulled up a map, marking other flooded zones they'd need to check, his mind already shifting to the next challenge. Johan leaned back, staring out the window at the brightening sky. "That cub's got a fire in it," he said, almost to himself. "It'll make it." Sarah nodded, her pen pausing over the page. "And the mom, she trusted us. That's not something you forget." The room fell quiet, each ranger lost in their thoughts. Outside, the park stretched vast and untamed, its wounds still raw from the flood. But somewhere out there, a mother cheetah and her cub pressed on, their steps a testament to survival and to the hands that had reached into the water to pull them back from the edge.